So for the listeners' benefit, Tony, can you introduce yourself and who you represent these days?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on. So I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Softspend. We're a Microsoft 365 licensing intelligence platform. We support the Microsoft partner ecosystem to win more deals and grow their businesses. So, really excited to be in the SaaS game and contributing to the FinOps ecosystem.
Nice. Brilliant. And we obviously had a few discussion about a couple of the topics, and one of them is obviously Copilot. So when you're talking to customers about Copilot readiness, what does that phrase actually mean to you? Readiness.
I think pretty commonly in the market, you see a lot about buying Copilot licenses, particularly driven by Microsoft. It's about signing those licenses, and also we see a lot of people, talking about enablement of AI and prompts, right? But the reality of what I think readiness is increasingly important is going to be securing your data of your organization. When you give that, if you have poorly rolled out, identity access management, configuration and security policies to your users, that's going to just be accelerated massively when it comes to agents. And so the true, focus area and the opportunity is really going to be about identifying your configuration state in your environment. Is your information secure, and do you have that controlled and monitored before you switch on Copilot and give it access to your organizational data? So in principle, the real opportunity in the market is for Microsoft partners is to be like, hey, let's do a Copilot readiness assessment, but let's look at your current state assessment of out of the Microsoft 365 stack, what's switched on, is it configured? So, you're driving value from an investment across key products like Defender, Purview, and Entra. And this is the technology stack that can help you secure your information and your organization for Copilot. And then ultimately, it's not only is it configured, but is it effective? And so have you rolled that out effectively in your organization? That might be aligned to a recognized industry framework. So, for example, you might align to frameworks like CIS. You can leverage insights from Secure Score, from Microsoft. And also you can align to the Microsoft's sort of established frameworks like Zero Trust. And they've got emergent frameworks for Copilot as well, like a Copilot Blueprint, Copilot Control System. So the opportunity for partners is to do those assessments for their client base at scale. If you can secure that foundation and improve that maturity in your client, you're ultimately going to be improving their security posture, ready for AI. But also, you're also going to be growing your business because you can attach services. There's going to be licensing, upgrade sales, and even Microsoft funding is going to be massively available in the next FY for Copilot readiness and security. So, I think the focus on traditional consumption of Copilot and how many users are using it, absolutely track it. It informs ROI. But ultimately, if you don't have those foundations in place, that security posture, then you're going to be effectively giving Copilot the flawed risk posture of the user that spawned it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's great to see that obviously the ITAM FinOps brain is looking at it from a security perspective, because I mean, within the last decade, we've seen plenty of opportunity for example, shadow IT, and now shadow AI, I suppose, where the ITAM community could have kind of elevated their position and used that data. So it's absolutely fantastic that you're looking at it from a risk posture perspective and not just a consumption. So that's fantastic. And you mentioned some of those frameworks. I mean, what's the most common framework you see? I mean, is there a best practice to use?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, organizations will align to certain frameworks, and maybe it's enabling your practice to be able to do assessments against those leading frameworks. So we have seen CIS pretty common in the market. They actually align their Microsoft 365 CIS framework broadly you can map it to E3, E5, like tier topologies. But and so that'd be a great starting point. Also, you can use a secure score. But broadly, the idea being is that you are not just switching stuff on, like the policies, but you're also aligning that to, recognized industry framework suitable for your client's organization, of course, and also Microsoft published Zero Trust framework as well, which I think is fantastic. So I wouldn't say there's one golden bullet, but broadly, if you can move the client up that security posture. So the role for the ITAM and the FinOps professional isn't just, hey, do I have those licenses assigned to that user, and are they being used? It's when it comes to the security stack for Microsoft, it's is it being used down to individual feature level? Is it effectively configured for that environment? And the effective level may be determined by some sort of threshold you're looking at, and that would be could best practice be to align that to, say, an industry leading framework for that client. And that allows partners to do it to a certain level of standardization, right? It's not just whatever individual consultant came up with, and therefore that's not scalable and repeatable across a whole tenant fleet. So if you're a managed service provider, are you doing that at scale? So I appreciate for ITAM professionals, it's not just say license assignment, kill the spreadsheet. That's dead now. It can't survive in the agent ecosystem. So you need to be prepared now for this new era of not only the kind of assisted or on behalf of agent, so a Copilot assistant that's attached to me as an identity. Increasingly, we're going to be looking forward also to autonomous or digital workers, and these are almost like completely autonomous, independent entities in your organization that can do things at scale at machine speed, but they have access to your organizational data. And so, like I said, the old identity frameworks, the old information access frameworks that apply to users initially will apply to those assisted agents, those copilots. So if it's badly configured for me, it's badly configured for my agents. That even gets worse when you start having independent agents as well. They need to be associated with a primary user, like me, myself as an owner or a sponsor. I have to take, ultimately accountability for that agent. And so, the role's going to evolve in ITAM and FinOps to not just be assigning licenses, but increasingly looking at, well, I've got this agent inventory, which I'm tracking. I'm aware of how they interoperates with the Microsoft 365 security stack. Is it effectively managed by that security stack? And also then, is that agent inventory, managed by my client organization? So the users in that organization are sponsors and owners of that agent fleet. They're taking accountability. So what we're increasingly going to see is, and this is, evolved with what Microsoft are bringing to market with Microsoft 365 E7, is really laying the security foundations for not only Copilot, which is long overdue, but also the security foundations for this new agent economy.
I mean, that's a huge change, isn't it, from Tier 2 E7 and Agent 365 not really having a human in the loop. So, I mean, that makes the governance ever more increasing. I mean, that's super urgent to get on top of, isn't it? Because you can't have agents running absolute riot, spiraling up whatever they want, and you not knowing what's happened. So
yeah, and that's what Microsoft are trying to put those foundations in place. That an agent is, even if it's an autonomous entity, it might be, you have an HR team and you spin up an HR agent to assist you. Therefore, it might be autonomously doing stuff and interacting with applications that your HR team uses. But if it still needs to be owned, and so from a FinOps perspective, it's visibility and allocation, right? So visibility, cost allocation. You map that back to the business business unit, and so that accountability for that agent is there. And then from that point onwards, it's making sure the security foundations are there as well. And so it's not just I can see the agent; it's associated with this business unit and it has an owner. but also does it have the security wrapper and stack around it to ensure that the information it has access to is properly controlled and secured. And so also, like you said, running Riot, if it's like it has to connect to the HR system of the human sponsors. So the old join, if when you're doing licensing, you're trying to assign your licenses and it's joiners, leavers, and movers, and you're trying to keep track of that via what was Active Directory. Well, now also is going to be on. Also you need to track that in relation to the owners of this new agent fleet, and so you don't. It's the idea being, to pull on your point, is if that user leaves the organization, let's say they're fired, you don't want their autonomous agents they spun up to be running riot independent of any ownership or accountability. So I think this is where Microsoft are going. They're trying to set those foundations for that future scale that ultimately underpins the success of their business in the long term.
I mean, the joiners, movers, leavers process is something that many organizations don't really focus on. So it's actually a great point to make when, if that person who may have been quite kind of advanced with their, setting up their agents and setting up their workflows, if they leave, I mean, yeah, that's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah,
That people,
and you mentioned, I think, shadow AI, right?
yeah,
So those users may not be necessarily might be bringing agents into the business from third parties that may not align to the governance controls of the organization.
yeah,
So that's another reason for the agent registry, right? Is surfacing shadow AI in the organization. So the ITAM role is, as we've always known for many, many years, intersects with a lot of disciplines.
mhm,
It's the data layer. I've always seen SAM as the key data layer for a lot of interconnected disciplines. You're already collecting this data, right? So you're just applying different lenses to that same data set. So it, I think the ITAM and the FinOps sort of ecosystem of professionals have a huge opportunity in the coming years if they can really jump ahead of this game. And you jump ahead first by you know, um, user-based security posture assessments. And I know that's not typically our core competency, but it helps you do an accurate licensing position. Because if you don't know what's switched on, you don't know whether or not it's being effectively used, how can you advise the customer that they can downgrade from an E5 to an E3? Probably can't these days. And if you're working with a customer that's thinking about leading frameworks, it might actually be making the business case that they should maybe improve their security posture for they're already licensed for, and driving an upgrade conversation with your clients based on aligned to, say, a framework that's showing, hey, I'm not just telling you to upgrade to E5. I'm telling you to upgrade to E5 because you want to align with this industry framework's maturity or maturity tier, whatever that might be. And so that can be a more constructive framework-led conversation with that client. And ITAM is going to have that role in surfacing that information. So if you can really effectively and at scale surface the information of what's switched on, and is it configured, and is it effectively utilized in that environment, then you can actually do an ITAM compliance assessment for Microsoft 365, for example. If you don't do that, whatever you're presenting is probably incorrect.
understood. And that's a fantastic takeaway that many ITAMers listening to this would be able to kind of employ. But just to kind of, I guess, give you an opportunity to talk about the company that you created, I suppose that is what you are helping your customers, or rather the partners, put in place.
Yeah. I mean, funny that. Effectively, Softspend, we're there to provide that intelligence layer. So there are, say, 300 plus Microsoft 365 features
Yep.
mapped to over 50 suites, right? So for anyone trying to keep track of that's quite hard. So we can instantly connect to a client's environment, tell them what's licensed, and automatically tell them what is activated in that environment
Mhm. Okay.
in one click.
Brilliant.
So what you're doing maybe doing is scripts, Excel spreadsheets, pulling from various Microsoft admin portals, maybe using third-party tools, but extracting that data and analyzing it. We do it in one, and you can do it in one click. That's it. And so we can tell you exactly what's switched on the Microsoft 365 environment.
I mean, that's a really good point in terms of commercially, because knowing what's on. Well, I mean, can you explain the shift in the
Sorry,
commercial
yeah.
model and how that would
Yeah, so it
affect the
gets
bottom line?
we get signals from the tenant, like there's,
Okay.
multiple APIs, right? So say Graph,
Yep.
for example. And so if you ask the right questions, you can say, is that switched on? And so once you know that what's switched on at feature level,
Mhm.
if we've mapped all those features to all the Microsoft 365 suites, then we automatically know for that client what's switched on and like based on what they're
Mhm.
already licensed for.
Mhm.
But also then, if you were to say work with that client and go, let's look at your roadmap, we can also map the required features, to the most optimum licensing suite for them. So we've got the cost data, we've got every single feature mapped to every suite. So what that means, we can automate the recommendation on the most efficient way to buy the licensing bundles
Mhm.
based on either what you're using or based on your roadmap. And so that was usually manual analysis with an Excel spreadsheet. So, and that's still done today. The leading consultancies that get very large amounts of money from large enterprises, there's a guy sitting there in a room with an Excel spreadsheet, and he's got a list of Microsoft 365 features, and he's going, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Then he goes away and he does the cost modeling. What if that was just automatic, end to end? And you can do it in a minute. And so that's what we tried to build. And I've been dreaming about this for I had significantly more hair when I first just started dreaming about this, but effectively that's what we're trying to build for the Microsoft ecosystem
Yeah.
because we've learned the hard way,
Yeah.
and we think it's possible.
Years of pain in your previous employer, and now your brainchild's out there.
No comment on the previous employer. Yeah, no, it's we like many of us in the ecosystem, we try and look, we have our favorite tools, but I've tried to build our dream tool that we think will help the ecosystem. So if you work in Microsoft licensing and you're trying to advise a customer on what they need for Microsoft 365, this tool can do it because you'll say, hey,
Mhm.
what's switched on? What's the most efficient way of licensing what you already own? And then you can have those more constructive conversations based on framework-led assessments to talk about upgrades and proposals. So, and
And it's the wider argument, isn't it? I mean, there are so many tools out there, but it's a one-click situation. They don't have
no,
to be in a room for a week. That's the point of
yeah,
it.
yeah, I think so. I think it could speed up a lot of what we're doing. It doesn't remove the licensing expert from it. It just gives you scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have great people in the ecosystem. We have very passionate people in FinOps, SAM, and licensing for many years, and they contribute to our wider network. But sometimes it's a scale issue, right? They're a small team, sometimes under 5 people, that's supporting a large enterprise, and they're always being called upon by the salespeople, the consultants, pre-sales, to be that overlay function. Maybe they're consultants themselves in pre-sales, and it's a scale issue. And so I think technology can enable them to scale and scale their expertise so they can do the assessments faster, and then they can connect with that client on a human level, understand their business, and then but they're able to do their analysis and provide outcomes faster. Um, and I think that'll become increasingly important, because like I said, the Excel spreadsheet can't keep up, not on the Microsoft 365 licensing changes, but it also can't, accommodate all the potential checks you'd have to do across the Microsoft 365 environment to do a licensing assessment, a baseline assessment. And like we said, the agent economy is going to only increase that scale even more. So, in ITAM over many years, we've been used to counting users for our organizations that we work with. Now we'll be counting agents as well, and then mapping those agents back to those owners. And we will see a massive proliferation in agents over the coming years because one, we see it as an emergent trend, of course, but for Microsoft, it's going to be absolutely key. At the moment, their business model is indexed to the user, a paid seat like myself. They can only push it so far. With E7 being $99, not all organizations can be jumping to that straight away. But what they can do is also set the foundations through Agent 365 and that technology stack, the security foundations for agent proliferation. And the reason they're making that bet is at the moment I'm one license, Tony's one license. If I spin up an agent, they can monetize that. But what they're betting on actually is it's not that, say, my 5-member team has one agent. That's where they
Yeah.
start and they monetize that. In the future, they're actually hoping that my team will spin up 25 agents. So, and this is the whole bet of the economy, right? The breakthrough growth by moving from an average revenue per user to an average revenue per agent model, ARPA. And so what we're going to see is that explosion in growth of agents, and Microsoft's going to want to monetize that. So we've got the security foundations in place through Agent 365, which is giving that identity construct to the agent as a first-class identity. It's building on the Defender, Purview, and Entra E5 stack effectively. So what that will do is it drives up your average revenue per user because people will be moving to E5, or if they're SMBs, they'll be moving to Defender and Purview suites. But effectively, they're going to drive up average revenue per user through getting ready for agents.
Uh-huh.
Plus,
Mhm.
then once agents really get unleashed, then they're going to monetize the agent. They can't not, right? They've already indicated through multiple Microsoft execs that they're going to look at a per agent licensing model. So
Uh-huh.
I will bet anything a per agent licensing model will come, and they'll make money on that because those agents will need to be secured independently
Uh-huh.
with their own security and identity access management and compliance policies through that Microsoft 365 stack. They're also going to potentially, some of them, be using the Microsoft productivity stack. And so when I was working in the room and we were talking to clients about user profiles, we are now going to start off talking about what are your agent profiles and does it need the Microsoft stack or not, and putting those assessments around it.
Uh-huh.
FinOps traditionally, it's been about cost management for the cloud. I don't think FinOps is there yet for the management of the Microsoft 365 and the agent ecosystem. I think that's evolving fast, but I think there's a huge opportunity for our ecosystem to have a best practice frameworks and standards in how we manage that.
Sure. And obviously it starts with that when we started the call with the AI readiness, that security piece, getting that governance together, which and the management of and understanding the visibility of who's using it, who's spinning up what. Because then commercially, you know what you're what you might be up against, and if you don't, well, that's quite a scary concept.
There's so much for us as service providers, consultancies, our ecosystem provide value here. I highly doubt the majority of our client fleets have done Copilot Readiness assessments or AI Readiness assessments. If you can do that at scale and provide a view of that security posture, but map it back to licensing, you can give an informed view to make the most of what they're already spending, improve the security posture for where they are today, whether that's E3 or business standard or business premium, whatever it might be. You can give them a realistic view of where they are on security posture, and then you can provide them framework-led conversation to prove that security posture ready for the agent economy. And it's going to be happening anyway. There's already AI in every business. A lot of it's stealth AI. We've all used ChatGPT, Claude in our environments.
Whatever your poison is.
Yeah, so I think there's a huge potential there for our industry, and also aligning with Microsoft's big bet. You don't bet against Microsoft. So if you're ready for the average revenue per agent, you've got an opportunity to disproportionately take market from your competitors that don't. It's the ones that are still just doing workshops and talking about like prompting,
Uh-huh.
sure, but I'd much rather be talking to the partner that can tell me exactly what my agent readiness assessment is. Like, what agents are in my environment and are they secure? Are my users, have they got the right policies and security policies in place for the assisted agents or co-pilots they may be spinning up. And so that's a lot more valuable, I think. So if any business is looking at an AI strategy and they're not doing that, and it's focusing just on the cultural enablement, then there's a security risk and a compounding liability and governance technical debt that they're going to be taking. So if Microsoft say, hey, great, I've just sold Copilot, let's walk away, that's not it. They've just created a massive governance technical debt on the organization. And so that's where our partner ecosystem can really lead the way and provide value to our clients as trusted advisors.
Perfect. And that's an absolutely fantastic point to leave on, that any FinOps, ITAM, or SAM practitioner listening to this could implement. And obviously, if they need to get in touch with you, I will put the details in the YouTube and Spotify and on the Off Menu IT channel. So anyone who wants to get in touch with Tony, please do.